let's talk about that. The exploitation, I think, is a good word, of Obamacare for a variety of different reasons. It was never about affordable care, even though they called it the Affordable Care Act. It was a whole lot different. It was an insurance bill, really. Where would you start in changing things?
Well, I think when, we have this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, we really feel like, at least that's how we're approaching it in the House of Representatives, to get this reconciliation bill across the finish line, get it onto the president's desk, hopefully by the 4th of July, and get our nation back on track. As you said, it's clear that Medicaid is going to be a big piece of this. And of course, I'm not on the Energy and Commerce Committee, and there are other people that are working on this diligently. But some of the things that I think are so important for us to understand is if we don't reform, if we don't make changes to this program, like adding work requirements and things such as that, this is going to continue to just sprawl out of control. And as I mentioned, when you've got a 30-year-old living in their parents' basement, and the federal government is picking up 90% of their health care, and they are very capable of getting out and working. And yet you've got a single mom who is expecting a child, and the federal government's only paying 50 to 70% of her health care, depending on where she is and what state she's in the country. The bottom line is that this program, if we get back to why it was started and the people that it was meant to be a safety net for, we have blown that completely out of proportion. And I'm just one who believes that we were sent there in November of 2024. We were given the trifecta with President Trump, a majority in the House, a majority in the Senate, to do government differently. And this is a time that really and truly, if we don't step up and save this program, it will simply implode upon itself. And as I mentioned yesterday in that floor speech, $1 trillion, that's not sustainable.
Well, what's not sustainable as well, Congressman, is all of these. I think there's been something like 135, 140 executive orders and so forth. If this piece of legislation, one big, beautiful bill, if it doesn't make it through, it's all been a complete waste of time. The executive orders are all fine and well. They're being challenged in courtroom after courtroom, and they're losing, thankfully. But if we don't get these things codified, a lot of it will be for naught, won't it?
Well, in many ways it will be, because we're only one change in administration away from the stroke of a pen from a Democratic administration undoing everything that President Trump has sought to put in place. But I'm confident, Steve, I really am, that we're going to continue to work together. I mean, let's face it, I've said this time and again, the left was counting on being able to write the narrative that Republicans would not be able to govern, that we would splinter off, that we wouldn't be able to come together and move this across the finish line. And in case after case over the last 4 months, we have been moving legislation through the U.S. House. When people said we were going to splinter, Speaker Johnson and others have worked together and have been successful at that. And I believe that's one reason you see the left in such disarray, because they weren't counting on us being able to govern. So I'm confident when we get back next week, several committees are left. 7, 8, I think, have already gone and got followed their instructions and gotten to where they need to be. And I think as we step into the next phase here in the next week, we're going to see a lot of good things happen. And then it's going to go to the Senate. And I'm really counting on the House and the Senate and the president leading this charge, that the leadership have worked very closely together to shepherd this bill. And I'm hopeful we're going to see it happen.
And Congressman, I hope you are as well. Look, I'm going to do a little history lesson for folks here. When I grew up, we all used the World Book Encyclopedia. You probably did too, to do book reports and things. In the state of North Carolina, when you would look at the World Book Encyclopedia, it was known for textiles, among other things, the things that you manufacture there. All of that's gone now. All of that's gone. The things that North Carolina used to be known for are gone. So I want to focus on the tariffs and what Donald Trump is doing to reset the world economy. This weekend, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and others traveling to Geneva, Switzerland, to meet with Chinese and the delegation in the first talks between the U.S. and China. But I want to ask you, in your constituents there, east of Charlotte, in that district of yours, what do they think about the tariffs? Are they standing with Donald Trump? There's some pain involved. There's been adjustments in the stock market and so forth. What are people saying? What would you like to see happen?
Yeah, I would tell you that yes, there is some pain involved, but the calls that I've received, the individuals that I have talked with in the business community that are feeling some of that pain have continued to say to me that we've got to stay the course. They understand. They understand the pain. They understand. They're trying to do ways that they can work around it. But at the end of the day, they recognize the reason that we're doing this, and they recognize that President Trump is really stepping up. And of course, the deal that he announced yesterday with Great Britain, that was a huge step in the right direction. I would love to see one a week rolled out over the next 90 days. That would be pretty incredible, because they are sitting down with President Trump and his team. These countries are in line trying to level the playing field, if you will. And you're exactly right. When you look at my district, you go down 74 coming out of Charlotte, you go through Wadesboro, you go through Rockingham, you go through Laurinburg. All of these were areas that were just booming through textiles. And we were one bad trade deal away from losing all of that. And so there is confidence that that some things are going to come back, and we're going to see manufacturing hopefully return. And I think President Trump is taking the steps that need to happen. And at least for my district, in the District of North Carolina, people are willing to give him a chance, and they understand what he's trying to do.
Well, there's one person there. You mentioned the House and Senate need to get behind one big, beautiful bill and get it all the way through. But there is one politician gaining some attention nationally there. Thom Tillis is not well thought of by some constituents there in your state, sir. Has not stood with Donald Trump all the way through, and maybe is going to be primaried here. People are willing to stand with Donald Trump. What about Thom Tillis? Is he going to make it through?
Well, I've given up being trying to predict what's going to happen politically in our state. When you look at North Carolina, I do think that there's a lot of folks that have a lot of concerns and are talking about it, but I'm not sure what's going to happen. We have a state convention that's going to be coming up here in the next month. And I think Senator Tillis is going to have to make some decisions as far as what he is planning to do. Indications are right now he's planning to run. And we're just hearing whispers here and there about primary challenges, but nothing that I know for sure set in stone, outside of a few folks that have said they're going to jump in, but are not currently elected officials. So I'm not sure where that's going to go. We're trying to work right now with all our energy to get this one big, beautiful bill across the finish line. And I think everybody is going to breathe a sigh of relief once we can get this to the president's desk and get it signed.
I appreciate that, Congressman. I know it's a sensitive question, especially in the Tar Heel state, so I appreciate you being candid about that. One last thing before we go here today, and that is the escalation of hostilities between Pakistan and India. Everybody's watching, everybody's concerned, but we've seen this before. We don't need another war. We certainly don't need a war between two nuclear powers on this planet. What are your thoughts?
Well, obviously, the administration has a very close relationship with the president of India or the prime minister of India. They've had conversations. I know Marco Rubio just a week or so ago reached out and hopefully was able to sort of calm things down from where they are. But then, of course, they have erupted. I'm hopeful that this administration is going to be able to continue to bring some calm to the midst of that storm, and that we don't need another war. You're exactly right. And I just think that we've got to use some really good negotiations there and let them settle things.
Yeah, I think people in this country voted for peace in Donald Trump, not for war. We'll see what happens. Congressman, I appreciate you being here on a Friday. Enjoy the weekend, sir.
Thank you so much, Steve. Appreciate what you do.